Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. It's Ericka, Sallee, speaker, self-help author, and transformation success coach. I'm the owner of True Synergy. I help women to move the barriers that stand in the way of their success, and I help organizations to create amazing corporate culture so that people feel valued and that they are able to be a part of healthy, productive teams. So welcome back to my channel. The topic for today is really the introduction of a brand new series that I will be talking about over the next few conversations, and that is what stands in your way. What stands in your way when you say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to do it, I'm going to be it, I'm going to get it done, I'm going to stop making excuses, which is a barrier all by itself. But today I want to talk about the barrier of self-doubt. I have so many things that I want to share. I had to write all of my thoughts down because I really want you to get this point today. And so, how many times do you stop yourself from creating something amazing? From not just creating something amazing, but being the amazing that's already on the inside of you. It's already there. But there's so many things that we pile on top of that amazing that it's hard for us to even see it. And so there are so many barriers that we're going to talk about in this space, but I really want to talk about three in particular. And today's self-doubt conversation, I'm absolutely sure that is something that you can identify with. I know that it's something that I have identified with over the years, and it's only until I was able to really see myself for, yes, the amazing person that I am, that I was able to say, oh, wait a minute, let me just back this thing up when it comes to self-doubt. And I don't say that in a conceited or a facetious sort of way or a narcissistic way, but we are absolutely amazing. As one of my friends says, we are dope, right? And so this is a conversation that I really want you to start thinking about in terms of this little bubble that might be sitting over top of your head that's called self-doubt. So here's the thing. And I got to give a big shout out to MJ Harris because I was listening to one of his conversations and I really wanted to piggyback off of what he was saying when he talked about, how easy it is to start comparing yourself to other people, to start thinking about, whether or not you really measure up. And so here are some things that may sound familiar to you. Am I good enough? The am I good enough question is when we're really warring against ourselves, right? We might look in the mirror and we might see something that we don't like. I know for sure one of the things that I know to be true is that I've got these little circles under my eyes. And so sometimes I might look in the mirror and say, oh, if I look at somebody else's picture, mine doesn't look as smooth as somebody else's. And so then you start to say, am I good enough? Either based on the way that I look, based on the experiences that I've had, those are the questions that we start to ask ourselves. So that may sound familiar to you. Here's another one. Ooh, what will they say about me? If I do this, if I step out and I go in this direction and I start to really do this thing for myself that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, what will other people think? Will they start to talk about me? Will they start to say, ooh, who does she think she is? Oh, why is she doing that? And then we begin to doubt ourselves when we hear those little whispers, right? Either on social media or even from people that we know. Yeah, that's another one. And here's one more. I don't measure up to someone else. I don't measure up to someone else. I remember when I was in middle school, and I talk about this in my book, Pathway to Purpose, and I remember this was a time when you would get to school and you would walk around the hallway and, people would just kind of show off their new clothes and just kind of, socialize. And I know that, as a middle schooler, like we struggled. We didn't have a lot of things that other people had. And so some of the things that I wore may not necessarily have been the name brand stuff or what was out at the time. So I had dressed myself up and I really was feeling a little bit unsure, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I had on some leg warmers that came over my knee, and I had on a pair of boots that someone had given me, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna try this." And I remember when I was walking around the hallway with one of my friends, I could hear the little snickers, right? And I guess people were like, "Ooh, what does she have on?" And so in that moment, I remember thinking to myself, "Ooh, what I have on doesn't really measure up to what other people are wearing. They've got the name brand stuff, and I had to piece it together." Self-doubt. I don't measure up to someone else. I don't measure up to what everyone else has or what everyone else is doing. Is that something that sounds familiar to you? That's when all of those questions start to come into our head about who I am and can I do this and am I, there it is again, good enough? So these moments, these thoughts of self-doubt will really stop us dead in our tracks. You'll hear me talk about that often in this space. It'll either stop us from moving forward, or we will begin to move forward and then run into a brick wall that says, "Nope, stop, don't go any further," because you know they're talking about you. You know they're going to say, "Ooh, what is she doing?" All of those things. So how do you then move beyond these barriers of feeling like you don't measure up, of wondering whether or not you have what it takes, or saying to yourself, "Oh, I don't have the degree, I don't have the this, I don't have the that." And then you really start to check yourself out of your own blessings and that amazing person that you already are. So I want to share a few things with you. To the question, am I good enough? That within itself is a barrier, because we start to say, "Oh, am I good enough?" And then that thought proceeds to go into, "No, I'm not. I shouldn't be doing this. Let me just sit back, because I can't do it. I don't have what it takes," right? So when you start to say that to yourself, here is a response to that barrier. Am I good enough? It's quite simple. And it may sound so simple that you might say, "Oh, how can that be true?" But here it is. I am good enough. Let me say that again. Not only am I good enough, I am enough. So if you've ever asked yourself the question, "Am I good enough?" Here's what I want you to do. I want you to type in the comments as you're watching this video, "I am good enough," and "I am enough." See, that's a declaration that you're saying to yourself, that no matter what your mind is trying to tell you, no matter how many times, you self-sabotage with your own thoughts and sometimes your own words, coming back to say, "I am good enough and I am enough," and you say it over and over and over again, that is a shifter to start taking that self-doubt and making a confirmed positive declaration about who you are. I am good enough and I am enough. Look at yourself in the mirror if you need to, and just remind yourself, no matter where you've been, what you've done, what you think you look like, all that kind of stuff, looking at yourself and saying, "I am good enough and I am enough." If you've got to write it on a sticky, if you've got to put a reminder in your phone so that all through the day it pops up to remind you, it's just the first step in helping you to begin to shift that self-doubt. Here's another one. The barrier, what will people say about me? Now listen, people are going to have something to say about you, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, whether you do something right or you're doing something wrong. Trust me when I say that some people, not all, but some people will find a way to just throw their own little, water on your fire. Okay? So what do you say about, what do you say to yourself when people say, or when you say, "What will they say about me?" There it is. You say that 10 times fast and see what happens. But here's the thing. It's not "what will they say about me." The way you shift that is you say, "Well, what do I say about myself?" There was a reason why at the beginning I said, "I am enough, I am good enough, and I am enough." Because when you start to be concerned about what people will say about you, what you say about yourself is even more important than what other people say about you. And if you're beginning to tell yourself, I am good enough, I am enough, I am beautiful, I was designed to be something great, you start to tell yourself, give yourself those messages. Then when you start to think about, well, what do people say about me? You're like, well, wait a minute. What am I saying about myself? And if I'm already saying that I am good enough and I am enough, then guess what? It doesn't matter what other people will say about you, right? So here's another part of that. And I just said this, that people are going to talk regardless, right? And I shared this in a previous video, but the question is, what is your why? You know, what is your why for wanting to step out there, to achieve a goal, to make something happen, to say, you know what, I'm going to create the best version of myself. Why are you doing that? And so if you get it into your spirit, if you get it into your heart and into your mind, and you say, this is why, then it doesn't matter what other people say, as long as you are saying to yourself what you need to fill your own mind and spirit. Here's another one. So that barrier that comes up and says, I don't measure up to someone else. I don't measure up to someone else. That's what I was thinking when I was walking through that hallway in middle school, and I could hear the snickers. I could hear people laughing. You know how you could just, like, if there was a spotlight on me from people's eyes, that's how I felt. So when you go through that process in your head, I don't measure up to someone else, here's the response to that. That each of us has a unique blueprint. You know, it's just like our fingerprint. Everyone has a unique fingerprint. And what that means is that we were placed on this earth and created for something absolutely amazing. So guess what? You are unique. I am unique. The next person who sees this video and every other one after that is unique. We were created with something amazing for ourselves. So when we start to say, oh, I don't measure up, you're not supposed to measure up to someone else. Here's something I think is very interesting. I am a football fan, and so it always interests me when I see how they compare players. And so recently I was looking at something, and they were comparing the Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson to, at the time, I believe it was Justin Herbert of the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken. I might be getting that wrong. But they were comparing him to another quarterback. And so they were like hyping up the game that was coming up. And when you looked at these two quarterbacks on paper, they were like evenly matched. You know, the number of passes that they've thrown, the number of touchdowns, and, you know, their quarterback rating and all of this kind of stuff. And like when you looked at it side by side, I'm like, man, they look like the same person. But if you think about that, I'm like, oh, well, you know, when you think about measuring yourself to someone else, that's exactly what all of the commentators and the sports analysts were doing, because that's just what they do. But at the end of the day, the skill and the uniqueness of that particular individual would be the deciding factor as to who would win the game. You know, which one of these quarterbacks evenly matched, everything neck and neck. I mean, like literally every stat that they had up on the screen was just about the same. So when you looked at them, yes, you know, you're comparing them to someone else, but their unique blueprint would be the very thing, and I want to say, I'm glad to say it, that it was Lamar Jackson's uniqueness that allowed the Ravens to win that game that they were comparing. So when you say you don't measure up to someone else, just know this. Yeah, you might have some things that people may compare you with another person, but at the end of the day, your unique blueprint and my unique blueprint is what makes us absolutely amazing. Like, there's something about each and every one of us that we bring to the table that nobody else can do the way you do it or the way I do it. That's what makes this such a wonderful journey for each and every one of us to be on. So when you start thinking about that, It's like, yeah, it's good to observe other people. It's good to learn from other people. But when you think about who you are, there is no comparison to someone else. And so if self-doubt has been the thing that has held you back from really stepping in and owning the uniqueness of who you are, can I just remind you? And I'm reminding myself, yes, I am good enough. Yes, I am enough. I don't have to compare myself to other people because I'm unique. And I don't have to worry about what other people are saying because they'll probably talk whether I do something right, and they'll probably talk if I do something wrong. And if I remember my why, then it doesn't matter who doesn't understand why I'm showing up to be this person that I was created to be. As long as I believe and I know that I am indeed, and I want to say it again, I am enough. And so I'm excited to continue this conversation. You know, the next video that I'll share in this series, What's in the Way, I'm going to be talking about, are you making yourself a priority? So you want to make sure that you stay tuned for that conversation. And I just want you to know this, that transformation, that's what this whole conversation is about, moving these barriers so that we can transform ourselves to be our own true synergy, the essence of who we were created to be. So I look forward to seeing you all again real soon. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, share this out, make a comment, and don't forget to turn those notifications on so that when new information and new videos are uploaded, you will be one of the first to know. All right, so I'll see you again real soon. Until I do, take care and be well. Mwah.